welcome to your Friday edition of Runescape Weekly. Magebit here. Gonna do a quick little pre-show before we dive into the show here. Don't have any co-hosts at the moment, so I'm probably just gonna fly this one by the seat of my pants, which is totally cool with me. If that's what I have to do, it's what I have to do. Looks like Harley pooped herself out playing Overwatch all morning. I see how it is. Nah, I'm sure something came up. Anyway, we got a good docket lined up for you today. You can check them out at notes.runeweek.com if you're interested to see exactly what we're covering. I'm going to quickly pop them open here. Oh, we also don't have a DX. We lost a DX, too. So I don't have anyone to do the PSA, so I guess I'll handle the PSAs as well today. But yeah, we got a good docket lined up for you today. We'll be starting very shortly here as I just get everything kind of together. Rip Magebit alone. I'll live. The real tragedy here is I haven't hooked up my fourth monitor yet, since the computer rebuild, which went well. Thank you for the cool cat. I say it went well. I only had like 2 mental breakdowns, and mostly everything made it over to the new case. My old desktop was wireless. I decided that I didn't care enough to hook up the wireless internally, so that didn't come over, but like everything else pretty much did. The optical Blu-ray drive didn't make it over because not once since I've built that stupid thing have I used the optical drive. So stuff like that just didn't make it over. But, no big deal. Are any of you guys mods or just high-level player enthusiasts? I'm just a high-level player. Just a high player as well. I've been playing the game for 16 years, over 1.3 billion total experience, in all skills across the board. Yeah, just a long-time player. I know some JMods, but, my dad works at Nintendo. Cool story, right? No. We've had JMods on the show in the past, and I'm sure we will in the future again. Mod Balance wanted to come on the show for the whole Canada Girl incident, but unfortunately it got so out of hand that they had to kind of dial back on talking to propaganda networks and whatnot, so that ended up not happening, sadly, but we still covered the whole thing anyway. It was really good coverage. What I do want to know is anyone out there who is a Patreon subscriber, if they are enjoying the current series we have going on for $3 a month patrons. I'm currently reading July RS's History of RuneScape, starting, I'm just making it into an audiobook. That thing is over 400 pages long, and I feel like who has the time to sit and read a 400-page book about RuneScape, right? But would you listen to a 400-page audiobook of RuneScape? Probably while you're skilling or killing or whatever you do. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this into an audiobook completely without permission, which is probably not a good idea. But whatever, I'm just doing it. So while the audiobook is being created, patrons are getting to kind of hear the bits and pieces of it. I've been releasing it in 20-minute batches as I've been recording it. And the final product will be for everyone on the YouTube channel, but the production of it could take months. So if you want to hear it while it's in production, you can do so at patreon.com/RuneScape. I'm sure I'll pitch that again during the show, so no worries if you didn't catch that URL. But I'm just curious if people are interested in that as an idea. Or do you want to listen to an audiobook about RuneScape? What if it was 7 hours long? Are you cool with that? Would you listen to an entire history of RuneScape in audiobook form while you're playing the game? So give me feedback on that, because like I said, everyone is going to get the finished product. There's no way I'm going to put months and months into it, and only 20 people are going to get it. No, but if you want to basically watch me build it over time, over the next year or so, you can do so at the $3 a month mark, and I'm hoping to release an hour plus a week in 20-minute chunks, so it should be a fairly regular thing if people are interested in it. If no one's interested in it, it could just taper off and die, which is why I want to know if it's worth my time or not. Do you ever talk about lore in RuneScape? We do talk about lore in RuneScape. We have lore specials on occasion, just because I'm not amazing at lore. But we try to on occasion get people who are super lore houndy on the show. We've had a couple of breakdowns on Patreon where we just did 2 hours where I just brought a lore specialist on and just let them ramble. We've done one of those on the main show as well, I believe. I can't remember exactly how long ago that was. That might have been 2013. But we have done a couple of hours where I had a lore specialist on both sides of the show, both free and patron. So there's definitely content out there. If you want to request something, feel free to do so. I'd be curious to know, if anything the channel is missing, we can always try and put it on our backlog. Certainly, we want to get ideas, and we want to make videos that people want to see, so. This is going to turn into like a behind-the-scenes RuneScape Weekly show since I'm by myself here. I got pretty much only the audience to bounce my ideas off of. I'll try to jump into the show here. Yeah, we used to have a lore specialist. DX is not our lore specialist.
Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, Harley? Welcome.
Not much. Trying to make breakfast, so that's why I didn't respond to you. But
All good.
I will be here for at least some of the show. I didn't sleep the greatest last night, so I might pass out halfway through. But I'll be here.
That's all right. We got a good show. Hopefully these ideas will be exciting enough to keep us both awake. My eyes are still kind of burning as well, but I'm one step ahead of you. I got some eggs in me, so I got a little bit of energy. So I'm gonna do my best to get in here. I really wish I had my fourth monitor because I'm trying to put the chat over top of Discord, and like the stuff moving behind the chat makes it hard for me to read the chat. From the very first age, don't give DX a title, it would go to his head. We've given him titles before. From the very first age, we could like just start from the very first age. Is that what you mean? We could definitely start a lore series. I think Harley has talked about that before. The want to do one, and I've also had the want to do one, and I've tried before by bringing people on. And if we could get something that was well-directed and scripted, I think it could go quite well. So if there's interest, then we can figure it out. We'll figure it out, yeah. You finally went live in my YouTube sub feed. That's awesome. Glad to hear that feature is actually working. Anyway, I will go ahead and load up the correct music here while we're talking, and then we shortly here. Again, if you want to check out the notes, it's notes.runeweek.com. Check out what we're playing today. I am looking for player. Good to go. Let's probably not play it at 80%. Probably a good idea. And as it already went to his head, have you read his game description? I have not read his game description. I kind of want to know what his game description is now. Poor DX isn't here, so gotta give him a little bit of a break. Okay. Let's begin and get this off my screen. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Runescape Weekly for 5/26/2017. I'm your host, Magebit, with over 15 years of Runescape experience. Joining me today is Harley, and on today's show, devblog, achievement diary, improvements, OSRS is beginning to show why Jagex added EOC, official RuneScape For Mobile, yes, the actual game, TAPP Ideas for Ma, would you be willing to test out new updates on a beta server? Is Chronicle dead in the water? I think an old ex is trying to recover my account. Small scammer justice. Banned for teleporting. And the great Jag-Off. Thank you for tuning into this edition of RuneScape Weekly. And enjoy the show. Welcome back for your Friday edition of RuneScape Weekly. Sorry there wasn't a Wednesday edition. I was rebuilding my computer. It is rebuilt, and it is better than ever. Well, it got a new case. It's cooler than ever, at least. And I don't mean, well, you know what? I do mean in both senses of the word, actually. Thank you very much. It is aesthetically cooler, and it is ambiently cooler. And I am happy for both of those things. This case looks a lot less like 15-year-old angst was jumping out of my chest, and also is just much cooler by design. Like, it actually is running at like an ambient temperature of like 60 degrees Celsius instead of 80. Which is much more reasonable. So, sorry about Wednesday, but I'm back now, and hopefully that will just make things better overall. Definitely for upgrades-wise. Like, I'm going to be able to fit much more into this case, and that's just going to improve the longevity of this build, and I am happy overall. Again, thank you to Sudwood, who suggested that I get the Corsair Carbide 600C. I'm very happy with it. Anyway, how you doing, Harley? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm doing good. Like I said in the pre-show, I didn't really sleep more than like 3 hours last night, so I'm kind of tired. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I guess partially because you and I were up late playing video games, but then I also just couldn't fall asleep after that. Well, I fell asleep, but I woke up at like 3 a.m. I have this problem where, like, I don't know. I can only sleep between 3 and 5 hours most nights.
That's a very common problem. I generally have I can generally sleep for about 4 or 5 hours, and then I wake up and I'm awake, and I have to like force myself back to sleep, and that doesn't always work. And then that can just basically mean no more sleep for the day. Something along the lines of the best RS Weekly co-host. Does it really, Elite? I really hope that it does. We're talking about DX's in-game examine description, by the way. That is also carryover from the pre-show. I swear this is the.
And here I thought we were talking about me, but you know.
Well, I mean, what I guess it should be. It should preface there and say a self-acclaimed best RS Weekly co-host. I don't think he's won any awards lately. No offense to DX, he's prime entertainment. Oh, you know what I forgot to do is open all of the show notes. That would be helpful.
Imagine if there was. Now I want a Runescape Weekly co-host awards show.
God. I was afraid these days would come. Like, I was actually, like, you say that, but, like, I was seriously, like, just thinking the other day about the fact that the Discord channel piles different groups on top of each other, and that makes people look like they're on top of each other, and I don't even like that. And you're talking about just actually judging and ranking my people.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. Yeah.
In practice, in theory, it sounds like fun, but in practice, only feelings get hurt. I have a feeling. I've been watching a lot of The Office, and I would love to do like a Dundee style like award show where I just give out like basically just like insulting awards. That would be fun. Like DX would definitely get just like the the racist award of the year. I'd think of a better name for it, obviously, but anyway, the intro music has ended, so that's my cue to stop bullshitting around and get into the actual show here. I haven't, just a preface, I haven't played RuneScape this week. I literally did a little bit of bonus XP and then was like, you know what, I need a little bit of a break from RuneScape, and I've just kind of stepped back. I do this every so often. And I'm pretty much just refreshing myself, awaiting the release of Menafos coming in less than a couple of weeks. And I'm going to be fresh and ready for Menafos with fresh eyes. It will be a delicious thing. Can Hampshire enter what? What are you looking to enter, Hampshire?
Guessing the competition or the co-host.
The co-host competition?
Or award show, I guess. Yeah, that would be my guess as to what he was referring to. But you'd
have to enter as Hamster. The only time I've announced you on the show as a co-host. Good.
You'd have to enter as Humpshire, the his Twitch name. I think that's what it should be. But I already forgot that it was double XP weekend last weekend because my internet was out for like 90% of it. So it was kind of a crap double XP weekend. I know you had a lot of stuff come up as well, and I know Sarah in the audience was busy as well. So I know a lot of us kind of missed that double XP weekend, which kind of sucked. I wanted to like bust out some Slayer levels, but didn't have the opportunity. Luckily, my internet came back, I think, Sunday afternoon. So I basically played until I needed sleep, until like 4 or 5 a.m. on Monday morning, and I got one of my things I want to do. I got 92 agility, which means I can now use the Port Phasmataz, however you pronounce that place, agility shortcut, and we will cut down my racks banking times in about half. So that's that's the one nice part about double XP weekend.
That's cool. I literally, what did I do for double XP? I did prayer for like 8 hours, and then I was like, I'm gonna play Prey, and I was greatly I regret it. I regret everything. The game is fun, but it's not for me. Prey is not a good game if you have like an anxiety disorder, and I don't mean that Prey is scary. It's not scary. Like, it has no like jump scariness to it, and it's a great psychological horror. Like, if you're a fan of, what do you call it? One of my favorite games, Soma. If you're a fan of Soma, you will probably love the storyline of this game. But one thing I absolutely hate in these types of games are, and this goes for like a lot of zombie games too, where it's like, oh, for the next like 5 minutes, all zombies are like insanely powerful, and you basically just need to run for your life. I don't like, and I'm in the middle of like doing a mission, And, I'm skulking about, just trying to complete this mission. And it's like, oh, sorry, you were in the middle of something, weren't you? Well, for the next 3 minutes, you need to hide from the nightmare and not get murdered or kill the nightmare. Oh, you're level 4, you're probably going to just have to hide for the next 3 minutes. Like, it's just, I don't like that type of mechanic. So, like, that's the stress of that really kind of put me off. But the rest of the game's kind of good. What was
I'm really interested in try and Prey out potentially at some point, because I know it's kind of like it's in the whole System Shock, BioShock vein of games.
Yeah, that part of it is great. And you know what? I'm gonna finish Prey. Like, I'm taking a little bit of I took off like a 3-day break to kind of reset myself from it. And but what I'm gonna do to get around the parts that I don't like, because the story is freaking awesome, but the gameplay is a little meh. Is I'm just gonna anytime the freaking nightmare comes on or whatever, I'm just like, I'm just gonna turn on God mode and just stand there and stare at it for like 3 minutes and just wait until it goes away, and then that's how I'm gonna get the game. I could just watch it on YouTube, but like something about experiencing it's worth experiencing if you can get a copy of it for an affordable price. It's worth it. It's Arcane Studios, you got it. They're really good at storytelling. And anyway, that's all I have to say. That's where I've been for the past week, is rebuilding my computer and playing a little bit of Prey, and I'll be back for the Golden Gates once they open up. Let's jump into the show, though. Yeah.
Before we jump in, I just wanted to say that I'm going to be streaming a lot more here now, thanks to some upgrades and such. So if you would like to tune in, my Twitch is Queen of Blaze. I'm definitely going to be streaming a lot of RuneScape. I'm going to be doing a bunch of other games too.
You going to stream Overwatch now that you have it on the PC, or?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try it and see how it works out. I think that would be a fun thing to stream. But I'm also thinking I want to do a bunch of story-based streams and maybe do some also YouTube-specific content if I can, because I know I have at least a couple people who always watch my YouTube videos. Like Killer Bunny specifically is like religious. Like any video I post, the dude notices. So I kind of want to produce more content there. I'm thinking about maybe doing like a Mass Effect playthrough, because I own that game and I've never actually played it. And I also want to say that if you have a game out there that you want me to play and you either have an extra copy or want to get me an extra copy, you can talk to me about that. And if it's a game that I think I would enjoy, because I don't want to commit to a game I know I won't like, but if it's a game I think I will enjoy, we can possibly make that work, where I would stream the game. I would give you some promotion or credit depending on what you wanted, a link to your Twitter or something like that. So if that's something that interests you, you can always hit me up on Discord, or just check out the Twitch channel and hang out while I stream video games. I'm gonna be streaming Rax here soon too. Hopefully this weekend I'll get my first Rax stream in.
Nice. Yeah, I'd watch your Rax, that's for sure. Cool. Good stuff. All right, so real quick, I'm going to jump into the show here, and I'm going to be DXDLB for us today and do the PSAs. So real quick, Minigame Spotlight has been updated on the Runescape Weekly Facebook page. It is now covered right up to the 11th of August. Minigame Spotlight is currently on Barbarian Assault. The Circus is currently located at Seers Village, and the Free Solomon's General Store item for May is the Next Outfit. So grab that now if you remember. Of course, and as well, let me just mention this real quick, since I have control over the PSAs. This stream, if you're watching it on Facebook, is brought to you by runegroup.uk. Runegroup.uk is a Facebook group and Discord channel. Over 25,000 active members on the Discord channel, over 300 on the Discord channel. Feel free to join for some awesome RuneScape banter. I'm a member of both. They're awesome. I've been a member of the on the Facebook group for a couple years now. It's good stuff. Anyway, jump into the show here. So we have, first up, a achievement system dev blog from Mod Stu, everyone's current favorite ongoing in-game project. So it says here, this is the progress we have been making on Phase 2 of the achievement system so far. There's plenty of time left for your feedback, so to be considered, and here is a preview of how the next phase of the project is coming along. Firstly, there's a new compact mode brought to you by Mod Doctor. In this mode, the icons for each achievement is hidden, compacting the achievements down so a lot more of them can be viewed on the screen at a time. Less scrolling, more achieving. In this screenshot, you can also see your current selected category is highlighted. Categories now have an XY counter. You can hide locked or removed achievements for which you don't meet the requirements for to shorten the list down. And the difficulty of area achievements is now included in their title, which was one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, of really not being able to figure out what group an achievement was from. So, overall, it does look much better. I've heard people complain that it's not compact enough, but it is a marked improvement over version 1. I will definitely give them that. Let's see here. So in addition, if you close and reopen the interface, it'll return you to the tab, category, and where the applicable achievement you'd previously selected. Next up, Mod Ashers has been improving the Overview tab. In addition to prettier progress bars, no longer anathema to the red-green colorblind, you can now mouse over the recently completed and almost there components to display the details of the achievement. Huzzah! He's also investigating making the almost there bars clickable to jump you to the appropriate achievement. On the right-hand side, Mod Stu's been adding more achievement paths, particularly for new players. They incorporate the Birth Orb Taverley achievements and are structured around introducing how the skills synergize. This is very much a work in progress, but we're particularly considering discoverability of the achievement paths to ensure they're delivered to the appropriate audience. In addition, when you've ticked the hide completed and you've completed all achievements in a path, the path will be hidden from the list, giving a better sense of completion and progress. There's also a couple of new paths for high-level players, including a suggested path through the World Wakes that includes all optional requirements. So if you want to fully appreciate the lore of the World Wakes and the backstory of every featured character, this is the path to follow. That's pretty cool. That's something they've never really done before. These high-level paths have completed... Go ahead.
That's super useful because I would love it if they at some point added like a full quest guide because I have a bunch of quests left to do and I always wonder like what order should I do them in to most understand the lore, and there should be an in-game way to understand that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that, is like if you want like having a path that literally tells you the story of the game is a really good idea. Once you've gotten the basics together of how to play the game and how to skill, how to PVM, and all that stuff, you might want to learn the story of the world, and that's a really good idea to have people like, hey, X, Y, and Z is going to basically teach you what's going on. Like, that's really cool. I like that idea. I hope people will be able to find it and take advantage of it. Allow me to continue on here. These high-level paths have completed QA and should hopefully be soon coming to a patch notes near you, independently of the next update to the achievement system. Speaking of which, another patch note will bring you a meta list encounters for a number of achievements, so next time you can see bosses you still need to defeat for the Reaper crew, that one last Memoriam crystal you haven't collected, or the number of chompy birds you've killed. Also, completionist achievements are now alphabetized for easier access, which is always nice. Totally agree with Runescape Weekly. We need a linear story sequence. Yeah, linear story sequence is something a lot of MMOs that just don't even think about. They just think about how can we get people up to like raid condition or whatever endgame content is, and really kind of the story seems to fall to only the hardcore players in the game, and I think that's a big... it's just people miss out on it. They don't know what they're missing. That's the thing, is like they think all they want is the end game, but there's a great story along the way. You should pick up on it. Mod Ashers has given the achievement tracker some love too. Text is now wrapped and truncates to fit the available space when resized. Pin icon states are more distinct, and you can now click attract achievement to jump to it in the achievement interface. Finally, remember those PVM categories that were mostly empty on release? Mod Shogunshire remembers he's been adding more combat achievements than any same Iron Man could desire. So if mass monster murder is your mug of mead, he's got you covered. We're hoping on the release of Phase 2 of the achievement system to be in July. So next month. The next month. I'm already in June, apparently. But we're basically in June, so not too far away to see this release. A marked improvement over the first version of the achievement system, which in my opinion was utterly horrible to look at. I don't even think I'm in the minority there at all. Like, I feel like everyone I've talked to has been like, yeah, no, this is horrible to look at. So
yeah, I mean, in the community that talks to Jagex, I would say that I will still argue that for new players who weren't used to the old achievement system, like it's a huge improvement. Like the old achievement, like there's a lot of people, like you were saying earlier, who are complaining that this new compact mode isn't compact enough, and they basically want the old compact look back. And it's like, to me, that old mode was terrible. It was way too much text on the screen to be able to parse easily. Like I'm sure that if you if you get used to it, then it works. But just from like a usability standpoint and like understanding it as a newcomer, it was way too much on the screen at one time. So I don't know. I've personally liked the improvements, although obviously it still needed more. Like the biggest thing is like the fact that stuff wasn't clicked through. I think it's good that they're bringing back difficulties, making that easier to notice. They don't want to have achievement difficulty in the future, but as like the comments say down later in the post, basically the J mods were like, we brought them back because of user demand. And I think it's fair to demand stuff like that back, because even if you're going to not in the future have easy, medium, and hard and elite tasks, the fact that you have so many in the game now means you kind of need a way to tell what those are.
I agree, and I am glad to see that this is getting improvements. And it's again, it's a victim of the batching system. People are like, people are not patient enough to wait for it to be fully completed. Honestly, maybe it should be fully completed on release, and they shouldn't do the batching. But I think they do the batching so they can get player feedback. So it's a double-edged sword. Good.
And also, the mods do kind of address it in the comments a bit too, which I don't have them up, and I don't remember which one it was, but just to paraphrase, he was basically saying that part of the reason they got it out so quickly was for Menopause, because a big part of this upgrade isn't just the front end, right? It's also the back end. So it's a lot of stuff that we don't see that makes things better for Jagex to actually add more achievements. So that's probably where the biggest part of batch 1 came in, and it does suck to have to wait for that stuff, but it makes sense to get it out there in time for the first big expansion. And I'm hoping that once these updates come out, people will be happy with where it is.
Hopefully, I think by the time maybe the third batch, I think by the third batch most people will be quelled. Second batch, I think maybe not a majority, but a good chunk of people will be satisfied. Looking at the screenshots in this post, you can check it out, of course, if you want to see the screenshots. I mean, it's readable now. It's understandable. Once these things are actually clickable and usable, and they do things, then I will be mostly satisfied. So they're definitely on the right path, and I don't foresee this not being a finished product by the end of the summer, maybe early fall. It's just we have to have patience, and player feedback is important for these types of things, especially. I mean, that's why they're releasing it in pieces, so they can get feedback along the way. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just release it at the end? And then we would still have complaints, and they'd be right back to having to fix it later anyway. So go through the iteration process while you're building it, opposed to after the fact. Work smart, not hard. That's all I have to say. We're victims of batch updates. We are. Menopause is going to have an achievement diary. I certainly hope so. That would be really cool if it was for the sigil slot. I would really appreciate adding some sigils that are not like ridiculously tied to combat. The achievement update came from the massive back end up. Not just there you go, Zettel. Okay, cool. So let's keep going along here. I'm cool with that. I hope everyone else is excited for a finished product there. It'll be here by the end of the year. Don't worry. So this is an interesting post that I found here as I was browsing Reddit. It's fairly new. It was released this morning, so I jammed it in here. And it's called OSRS is beginning to show why EOC updates were necessary for the game to continue. I found that to be a really interesting title because I feel like there's plenty of old school RuneScape players that would vehemently deny this, of course, but I haven't read this, and I liked the title, and I wanted to see exactly what this person has to say, and will react accordingly. So here we go. This is my first time posting on Reddit, so I apologize if I somehow mess this up. For those of you that do not play old school RuneScape or keep up with the updates that happened on there yesterday, a nerf happened to several different items. I'm going to give a quote from the update that explains why they had to nerf one of the items. Quote, its outstanding stats and venom and poison effects leave us very little room to introduce helmets of a similar tier. It is near impossibility to design around the helmet in its current state without damaging the long-term health of old school. So how does this prove that EOC was necessary? Well, the main issue surrounding the old combat system was the game became very limited on what could be released without ruining the game. Releasing new bosses would have become impossible to make because what items would they drop? We were already approaching endgame weapons and armor, such as Next Gear and the Staff of Armadillo. Making something better than that, those items would not have been possible without making them overpowered, which would be harmful to the game. In conclusion, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Old School RuneScape is approaching the end because it's going to be impossible to release new bosses and gear because the limitations that the old combat system had, which is why EOC was needed. With the release of EOC, the game has plenty of room to keep updating and bring in new things to be released. So, that's an interesting thought, and it's definitely food for thought of the fact that, like, the combat system in Old School RuneScape is very limited in, what it is and what it can do. So eventually, just sheer volume of damage is going to be a problem, right? And I think that makes a lot of sense. But I also... Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think we're as close as this guy thinks we are to that, though. Because, like I don't even think there's a T80 of anything in Old School yet. Like, I think the highest, like T75 as far as I know. I might be wrong about that. I barely played the game and never got to that level. But so I think there's still plenty of room. They haven't even gone far past God Wars 1. So, like, God Wars 1 is still super expensive in that game. So I think there's still room for more content. But I think at some point this could become an issue. But I also think, like, I don't know, like, this happens no matter what kind of combat system you have at the same time. Like, even in EOC, like, you release new armor and the old armor becomes outdated. Like, that's just part of power creep in general in video games.
Yeah, power creep is a real problem. So here's an interesting comment from Libersleb, who comments on pretty much all, like, EOC posts here, and says, this will be downvoted to hell. By the way, this is on the RuneScape 3 subreddit, so keep that in mind. Of course, we're going to have a lot of people who are geared towards RuneScape 3 in particular. This will be downvoted to hell, but here it goes. RuneScape 3 pretty much has exactly the same problem, and EOC hasn't changed it. The main difference is that old school RuneScape mods have shown to have some guts by making an unpopular decision that's good for the game's long-term health.
Bob, this is clearly... I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's clearly like someone who doesn't pay attention to RS3 combat, because we get nerfs all the freaking time. Like, the most recent one they think of is the Statius Warhammer that was nerfed super ridiculously. I mean, they nerfed Planet Feet not that long ago. There are always combat nerfs coming into the game to keep things balanced.
Next is not an old school, right? I'm pretty sure. No, it's just the regular God Wars dungeon, right? Yeah. Okay. Sarah was just asking. RuneScape 3 could do with a similar update in the general sense of rebalancing OP content for the long-term health of the game. But because the community would not accept it, the RuneScape 3 team won't do it. Yeah, I agree with you, Harley. There have been plenty of combat nerfs and adjustments. It doesn't even have to be a nerf, but just adjustments that have maybe shifted the power from one style to another or weapon to another. Good.
You can even look at, like, Angel of Death. Angel of Death was easier on release than it is now. Like, they've made changes to they do it all the time to content.
Just like in old school RuneScape, best in slots stuff is by far the best relevant gear, or the most relevant gear rather. The tiering system is extremely linear and one-dimensional. Higher tiers are better, simple as that. And again, not true. And just like in old school RuneScape, there are some exceptions, like weapons with a niche use. And I'm not talking about weapons with niche uses, but, like, it is almost like you will see people recommend, like, tier 80 over, like, tier 90 in a lot of different situations. And, like, there's definite times where, like, you can have tier 90 tank armor and tier 80 power armor is going to be better in almost any circumstance ever. Like, this is just markedly not true. And I'm not even a combat person, and I know this.
Yeah.
This is just me parroting PVM perspective information. That's what this is.
Yeah, you're totally right. And also, like, the thing that RuneScape 3 has also done is they've done something where the T90 armor is degrade to dust, right? And it degrades per hit. So you don't want to wear that to something like Slayer, because if you're killing, like, abyssal demons, your armor is going to degrade ridiculously fast because it degrades per hit. You're being hit by, like, 10 monsters at a time. That's just going to be a giant money sink. Whereas that you're going to want, like, T80 or some kind of armor that doesn't degrade to dust there. And so that's kind of how I think RuneScape 3 has handled some of this issue. Is they actually have brought diversity in armor in ways like that.
I completely agree. And real quick, thank you, Trider, for the $5 tip, who says, tip to celebrate RuneScape Weekly and PVM perspective. Thanks all. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Trider. But yeah, I mean, like, they have been The armor system is one of the big things that I think really stands out in RuneScape 3 opposed to old school RuneScape is the degradation system, the class system of armors. I hate to call it a class system. That's probably not the correct wording. But you know what I mean though, I hope. In the sense of like power armor versus tank armor, abilities, like all these things are all ways to make combat last longer, make it more interesting, give it variety, make there's so many things you can do with EOC combat that they've basically said it, they've alluded to it, they won't really divulge on this information yet, but they basically said we don't need, like with EOC tier 99 is not the limit. Like we can end combat levels at tier 99, but the sky's the limit as far as like requirements for wielding weapons and like new stats and stuff like that. And you can't say that in old school RuneScape. All you can say is like tier 99's the limit. We can add all the special attacks you want. Like that's all you can say.
Well, let's see. I don't even necessarily think that armor is the main thing that makes EOC good. The thing that you can't really do with the old combat system is make more engaging boss fights. Like that's the issue that I think Jagex really ran into, because like you have a couple of, like, basically the only option you really have in old school RuneScape is to make a boss with more hit points, and that's about it. And sure, and then you'll have prayer flicking, which has been in the game for a really long time, but like that's basically your mechanic. Your mechanic is, okay, so it has a ton of hit points, and I have to switch combat styles, and I have to switch prayers, and that's basically all you have as far as things you can do in that game. Where with EOC and RuneScape 3, it allows you to do stuff like racks that would just not. I mean, you can kill racks in Legacy, but it's not a boss that is fun to kill in Legacy mode in any way, shape, or form.
I would assume it's boring and more stressful.
Yeah, because you can't block like a lot of the special attacks. You can't, like, you couldn't camp racks at 300% in rage in Legacy, because you couldn't you can't do any of the self healing, any stuff like that really.
Yeah, and that's just gonna make it harder for you to. You're probably gonna finish every fight with like nothing left. Basically, it sounds.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, it's gonna be quite like every fight for me with EOC.
And even like, I think Telos is an even better example, right? Because we just had someone break 2600% in rage in Telos. You couldn't even get. It wasn't lit. It was.
Bottom Keck is lit. I'm like 90% sure. Like that's just his alt name.
No, I don't believe so.
Really?
That's not.
I thought Bottom Keck was lit. Just you.
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll take it.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood, but I'm pretty sure they're different people. But either way, like there's no way. I doubt you could even get the 500% Telos in rage in Legacy mode. Like like
I don't even know if you can fight. I mean, I don't think you can get past 100 because of the Isn't there like an insta kill that requires an ability to avoid, or am I completely?
There might be. I've never done the fight, so you could be right.
And I think it's only on like after 100%. I could be completely wrong. I've never fought Telos, and I probably never will. But it's there.
Yeah,
and I should know about it, I guess.
That's fair. But let's say that mechanic wasn't there. Even if that mechanic wasn't there, you couldn't push the enrage because, like, that's just not something that Legacy combat was built for. And like this post in general, I don't know if I agree with like the details of what this guy is saying necessarily, but on some level I agree with it, where I think, if old school lasts a long enough, I think it will need a new combat system. I still think it's kind of up in the air as to how long of legs old school RuneScape has. The RuneScape 3 has been around for 16 years. Old school's been out for 4 now, I think, and it's doing fantastic. Has fantastic player base, but it's still kind of hard to tell if old school will have the same longevity as RS3 does. I think there's a chance that it does, and if it does have that type of longevity, then I would definitely see a point where they would have to put in a new combat system. I think probably what they would do. I don't know
how they can avoid it forever.
Yeah,
unless they want to just plateau, and I think if they plateau, the game will eventually get bored and die.
Exactly. EOC, it's divisive as hell. Some people hate it, but it was obviously needed to keep RS3 fresh. Like that's why they did it, and why they stuck to it when people revolted as well, is because like
it was necessary. It's growing pain.
It was. Yeah, exactly. It's necessary for the next 10 years of the game, so that the game has a future.
Yeah, it's like nobody wants to go through elementary school, but you do it anyway because you need that, and you need that knowledge. You need that for the rest of your life. So EOC was just similar to that, in my opinion. It's just like we had to go through that in order to get to where we are in the game, and there was an awkward phase for 3 or 4 years of EOC where it was imbalanced and things were constantly changing, and that was just our changing combat system. We all go through it. And now I think EOC is a beautiful adult. So that's all I have to say. We'll continue on to our next post here, which I thought was pretty cool. This is a hypothetical here, sort of, but this is an official poll from Jagex's Survey Monkey Polls. This person posted here. It's Killer X09. Now, of course, we do have to assume that there could be some level of doctoring in this post, and it could be fake, but let's just assume it's not. And roll with it here. And I don't think it is, but
I believe I saw another post where I think a JMod commented and pretty much confirmed.
There was another one very similar to this, but it was it asked a very slightly different question, and it was, would you play a different version of RuneScape on a mobile device? This one is, would you play the same game? This is like, so clearly nobody, clearly the first survey, they learned that nobody wants to play a different version of RuneScape on mobile. So
unless they're sending out the survey at the same time to like different demographics, to just see what people's opinions of
very
all
well
of them are.
possible. So let's read through it here. So it's pretty simple. It just says, you will now be presented with a short description of a prospective project. RuneScape Mobile. Play RuneScape on the go. Same game, now optimized for mobile. With an app available for each of the RuneScape and old school RuneScape games, play with your existing character while on the go. Simply log out of your PC, log in via the mobile app, and continue playing. The game would retain many of the original features and gameplay currently available on the PC. Bear with me here as it flips over to another screen here. Currently available on the PC, with aim to create a RuneScape experience on mobile devices that is as close to the experience as PC as possible. But of course, there are definite limitations. So basically they just want to know how you feel about the project. And I mean, this is, first of all, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to sneeze real quick, so feel free to... Excuse me. I was going to say feel free to give your opinion while I sneeze my brains out over here, but...
sorry, my brain completely missed what you were saying.
Sorry, it was hard to get it out of my mouth in the first place. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I would totally be a 10 here. Like, there's nothing I want more for RuneScape, really, as far as the evolution of the game beyond VR. As far as, like, overall, like, accessibility of the game engine style things is, like, this is really high on my list. This would be like a 9 or a 10 for me. Being able to take RuneScape with me, shit. I really need that in my life. Like, I say that, but, like, also, do I? I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
This is a 10 out of 10.
A loaded question for me.
This was like, honestly, before I came back to the game, there was an article in 2012. I talked about this on the show before. There was an article in 2012 where I think it was MMG at the time said that RuneScape was going to be on mobile in 6 months, and that was right after they removed the free trade restrictions and brought free trade in the wilderness back. And I was like, awesome, I'm going to come back to the game when that mobile app comes out then. And I waited like 3 years for the mobile app to come out, and it never came out. I eventually ended up coming back anyway, but like I would absolutely love a mobile app. It'd be fantastic for skilling. I think it would also be fantastic to bring people back to the game who don't have time to play in other ways. Like, there's lots of stuff in RuneScape that you can do like just for 10-20 minutes if you wanted to.
I would buy a tablet just to play RuneScape as I'm falling asleep in bed. Like, same deal. I'd put a tablet in my car so I could play while I'm driving. Like, I'd put a tablet everywhere. I'd put a tablet in the bathroom so I could play while I'm pooping. Get a waterproof tablet, put in the shower, play while I'm showering. There's no limit to what I'm willing to do to play RuneScape in front of just in any situation in my life. Even in the hospital, I have played RuneScape in a hospital bed using a like hospital computer before. That's a story for another day. Would you consider using the RuneScape app for a bolt-on fee on top of your regular membership? So, would you not only pay for your RuneScape membership, but would you pay an additional fee to access this app? So I originally read this incorrectly. I thought they wanted me to pay like $4.99 to download the app, which I would be on board with. Like, okay, I'll pay a little DLC cost to have access to it on my device. But a monthly fee, that I'm a little shakier on, because that almost feels like unfair advantage. Of course, they'll be like, you can use bonds, so it's not an unfair advantage. But, it's still a little bit like, if you're rich in game, you can play wherever you want. But if you're poor in real life, you can't. So if you're poor in game and in real life, you can't play anywhere. But, you can if you're one of the other, either rich in real life or rich in game. I don't know. It still seems a little elitist. I personally would rather see the app itself have a flat download fee and not be a very high barrier of entry. Just enough to recoup the development. A few bucks. That's what I would say. But a per month fee is a little iffy. Rune Metrics doesn't provide really an unfair advantage. Being able to play on a mobile device is like a whole nother, like, a whole new world, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know how exactly I feel about it, because, I mean, I agree with you on one level, but if what we had to do to get this developed was to pay an extra to actually use it,
if
like,
it's included
honestly,
in VIP,
I would pay it.
If it's included in VIP, I'm okay with it. If it's not included in VIP, I just
I was gonna say
we got to talk what the pricing is then, and I guess before I'm gonna say completely no, but I'm leaning towards no. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if it would be included with like a Rune Metrics Pro, I would think that would be a good way to do it. Even like basically, just add more.
You just up the cost of Rune Metrics Pro or something? Or?
Well, no, leave the cost where it is. Just add it as a feature. Get more people to subscribe to that package of things. And also,
they'd be justifying it and adding a little bit of value to the price if there was two services in it, but it would not buy them a lot. But
it could, but I mean, it's already. I think Rune Metrics Pro at full price is what, $5 a month? I think is what it breaks down to. So like I don't know. I feel like that's already.
I think it's like it's only like 2 or 3, if I understand correctly. But I've been paying with bonds for so long that it's hard to tell.
And
if you pay via bonds, it's like $5 a month.
Well, you and I pay half price because we have VIP.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just talking, if you were to pay full price without VIP, it's a bond a month, which is $6 a month. But if you pay with real money, it's like $2 something a month if you pay with actual cash. Like, there's a discount for paying with cash. Totally the side topic, but as Joe's saying here in chat, it's like a monthly fee for the app is absolutely unfair. And Joe also says, I think that even paying a one-time fee for the app isn't fair. And I can understand where you're coming from as somebody who already pays a membership fee, and Jagex already microtransactions us in many other ways. It almost feels like this is something that you really want to give to your players, no? Like,
well, but I mean,
you want
honestly,
people to be able to play your game
as
many places as possible.
But this right here is a great example of why we have microtransactions in the game. Instead of
shit like this,
instead of a raised price. No, I'm like the thing you have to keep in the mind about RuneScape is that it's not a huge game. Like, the audience is not like, it's not like a World of Warcraft sized game where they have enough money to hire endless amounts of developers to make everything. So like, making RuneScape for mobile is like a huge undertaking, which is why I think charging for it in some way would be fair. Honestly, like, I would be more okay with a way to purchase the app like $20 one-time purchase potentially, but I also think that would kind of be harder because then you probably couldn't do that with bonds. Whereas if they had a subscription thing in game, you could do that with bonds. So I don't know. I understand the feeling that it's unfair, but like
Trider brings up an idea though. What about, and I don't think they meant to spark this decision, but what if they threw ads in the app for people who didn't want to pay monthly fees for the to have access to it? It's like, hey, you can pay for the premium version of this app, and bam, there you go. But if you can't afford it, you can, but there's going to be like every time you log out or log in, there's like a 5-second unskippable ad you have to watch or something. Just so everyone has access to it. Like, I hate ads as much as the much person is as much as the next person. But on the flip side, I would rather have added, access via ads than no access at all unless I pay Jagex more money a month. Just to give everyone an even playing field, despite the fact that I, as a player who has a significant amount of wealth, I'd probably just pay via bonds. Granted, that was an option, and I think it would be silly if it wasn't. But I don't know. Well, is that a fair meeting ground? Good.
I think something that could potentially work if they could get enough revenue from it. Like they removed ads from free to play recently because they don't make enough from it. So I think that might be the one problem. There's not enough money in that. But I guess if they were to do the more intrusive stuff, like make you watch a video, I think there is a bit more money in things like that. So if people were willing to go through that for the free version, then I think that would potentially
work. For a quick 5-second trailer of something, I don't mind. Like if I've already logged into the game and I know there's no risk of me dying because I'm watching an advertisement, it's not on logout, it's not in the middle of me playing, it's I've entered my credentials, okay, quick, here's 5 seconds of an advertisement, you watch it, okay, now you're logged in. It's completely seamless, and you're not, you're logged into the lobby. So it's just to get into the lobby. If you hop worlds, it does not show you an ad. If you do anything else, the only time you see that ad is when you log in for the first time in that session. If you completely log out of the session and have to put your details back in, you get another ad. If you lobby, you don't get another ad. And maybe that's also up to Jagex, but that's how I would do it, just to make sure that you're not interrupting someone's gameplay experience too much.
Yep. I'm guessing there would have to be more. If you ever lobbied, I think they'd have to show another ad. Of course, they couldn't do it while you're in the game, but I think
you just have to be careful with world hopping and stuff like that for people who are in the middle of PKing or something, or some PVMing, or where world hopping and seeing an ad for 5 seconds could really throw you off enough they could get you killed. That's just they have to be cognizant of that, and that of course. It is also something you as a player have to be cognizant of, is maybe don't do those activities when you're moving to mobile. It's a two-way street here, and you're getting access to an app for, a premium app for free, and whatever. The argument goes both ways is what I'm trying to say here. Elite saying, it's hard to discuss without more details, for sure. Everything that's coming out of our mouths is 148% speculation. Will there be invasive ads? Will there be microtransactions? Will this harm the development of other projects? Yeah, it's all on the table, and that's why. And it can be fun initially to speculate in these phases of little information, because your brain can draw conclusions anywhere. But eventually, you're right. Everything is just hearsay, and everything we say is this could never happen. This app may never come out, but where's the fun in that? Would you consider the RuneScape app for a one-time payment? Like I was saying initially, I'm okay with a one-time payment. Again, if it's only $4 or $5, I'd pay. In my opinion, I would pay about $5 for this app one time. That would be my ideal world, as far as I feel comfortable giving $5 to Jagex for the research and development of this app. I know, and the tens of thousands of other people will also do that. So hopefully they recoup some work. I'm okay with.
I think it'd have to probably be. Mm-hmm. If it was a one-time fee, I think it'd have to be probably more than that. I mean, maybe. I think
if
I'd be willing to pay $20, honestly.
I'd be probably willing to go up to 10, maybe 15. 20 is a pushing it, but I'd probably buy it out of necessity anyway. But I wouldn't be happy about it. I would begrudgingly purchase it at 20. I'd unhappily purchase it at 15. I would purchase it reluctantly at 10 and happily at
$20 is only 2 months of membership. It's not that much for if it was a lifetime unlock.
In the big picture, it's not. But when you're poor, $20 is well, I guess I'm just not eating anything good for the next few days. And that's what I feel we have to be cognizant about is remember, and again, it's a two-way street. It's not a necessary thing to play the game. You do not require mobile access to play the game. But I just feel if I was running a game, I would not want to restrict where and when people could play my game, because that is missed revenue opportunity, in my opinion, for them to purchase treasure hunter keys or anything, really. So the only thing I can get on board with here is I understand it does cost money to develop these technologies. So it's part of me understands, but on the flip side, part of me is also don't run away with this just because it's a cool new feature. It's you want people to have access to your cool new feature, lest they might go to another game where it is free. So.
Oh, and Zenel, it would absolutely kill battery life. It would murder your battery life. No way around that.
It would be akin to playing any other game on your phone, I assume. I mean, there are games that I have played on my phone that even when my phone is plugged in, battery cannot charge faster than it drains. Phone games can be ridiculous, and I would assume RuneScape would definitely be no different. And again, they also ask, would you consider using the RuneScape app for free with your regular membership? And I think everyone can pretty much resoundingly say probably yes to that. Maybe not everyone. Sure, there are people out there like Pernasius whose phone is running like iOS 3.5, but I think anyone, with a capable mobile phone would be happy to play RuneScape in their spare time on it if it was an option and it didn't cost them more than membership.
It's a good way to get Pernasius to upgrade his phone. Maybe HRS can go to Apple and be like, hey, give us a little bit of money. We're going to get people to upgrade their phones, and they're going to want to play RuneScape.
Congrats, Swizzy, on 99 Divination. That's pretty awesome. Say that again. What about? I'm sorry, I got a little distracted.
I said this would be a great way for Jagex to get people to upgrade their phones potentially. Maybe they can
right, and they can put Authenticator
like,
on
hey,
it.
Give us a kickback because you're going to be getting a bunch of upgrades from people who are addicted to RuneScape.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting like side effect, right? It's like Freakonomics. As to get accurate walking distance, you need. Oh god, we're talking Pokemon Go. You don't need the Go Plus. Everyone I've ever talked to about who plays Pokemon Go, they look down upon people who own the Go thingy add-on. His phone will still have faster. All right, let's move along here. So this is a post by a mod that I've actually never heard of before, Mod Meadows. At least they are not one that posts very often here. This is in relation to the Motherlode mod, which has not seen any love really since its release, but it's had tweaks here and there, but like a major overhaul, no, it hasn't. But it's been talked about for a long time. So apparently, Mod Meadows wants to pick up the project. He does disclaim and say, this is a TAPP project and therefore not guaranteed to make it into the game. However, if we can work together, hopefully good things can come from it. Note, I am not an environment artist. No, I'm part of the QA team, so please don't suggest any graphical updates. It's not something I can do. He says, hey team, as many of you know, the Motherlode Maw is a high-level, high-end, rewarding daily that helps players get closer to their goal of the completionist cape. The Maw gives a wide variety of rewards, some good, some bad, and this is something that I intend to change. My goal is to make the Motherlode Maw more desirable and actually make it worth doing daily again. Why the Motherlode Maw? The Motherlode Maw seems to be a great target for me to apply my TAPP personal time to, as it's a small update that will impact a lot of high-level players. Honestly, I'm not a developer. I'm new to coding, but I want to learn and have to start somewhere, right? The Maw is a great example of something that's small and niche that if I can target, I can create more and flourish, hopefully making bigger and better sizable updates down the line. As a high-level player myself, I have a completionist cape on my tube. I want to make it a place where you go and daily to get rewarded. Having 95 in all skills and 115 dungeoneering is a pretty hefty achievement for me. The Maw was great when it first came out, but now it's old and outdated. We often get weeks of new completionist content, but nothing gets added to the Maw. Are you new? I've never seen you before. So you can find out more here in the Shameless. He's got the Shameless plug to his other thread, apparently. This mod is new, apparently. And yep, he links to his new post here. I did not know this was. I guess that's why I've never seen his face before, but I didn't realize he was this fresh off the boat. So I guess we'll save his little introduction for another show here. But let's get some frequently asked questions. So what is the goal of this project? He says, my goal is to make the Motherlode Maw great again, and that is why I've come to you guys in hopes that you can give me suggestions on what you would like to add. Will you be changing enhancers? Enhancers definitely need changing, however, this is something that will happen at a later date. I want to make the Maw worth doing again first. My idea is to make enhancers variables on your account, basically meaning when you were given a Castle Wars enhancer, for example, you can crush it and it applies the effects to your person without the need to carry it around with you. You will have the option to not crush the enhancer if you would prefer to not get the reward until a later date. Of course, there are no promises here. This is just an idea. So if you have a better one, then I'm open for discussion. On top of this, the reason I'm waiting a little is because there's an update soon that will allow you to trade in unwanted and half-used enhancers for a 1-to-1 rate with Wythian returning Motherlode shards and eventually giving you 10 for another reroll on the Maw. Then there's a poll here real quick that says, would you like enhancers changed to variables or kept as they currently are? And currently there have been a little over 1,400 people who have voted a little over, and 88% of them have said turn them into personal variables. And I agree, that would make it way easier to keep track of, free up a bunch of bank space, and just automatically apply as you go. Sounds way easier to me. Will you be adding the Master Quest Cape? The Master Quest Cape is definitely something I am considering. However, I wanted to open the floor up for you guys regarding this. Master Quest Cape requirements will probably come later into the above enhancer change that I intended to implement, if at all. So the question I have is, would you like to see possibly make the Master Quest Cape easier? Oh, I bet Pern's rolling in his bed right now. On top of this, if you would like to see the Master Quest Cape stuff implemented into the mod...
No, I bet
Pern
would love this.
You think he wants the cape to be easier? I don't know. If he wants it it to be easier like this. I know he doesn't like those books, but...
Exactly. He flips out about those lore books, and that's exactly what this is about.
Yeah, but I think he'd rather see those books, move to a non-RNG thing than just hand it to you. But I don't know. He's not here to defend himself. But I will just say, yes, add everything to the mod. Give me these capes through just sheer playing the game. Sorry, go ahead. What you say?
There would still be some RNG involved. I mean, isn't the mall? That's how it works, right? You just randomly roll loot when you loot it. I don't have the levels, so I've never done it. But that's how it works, right? It's just a daily that
you just reach your hand in and see what you get. That's all it is. Anyway, it's a once a day thing. Would you like to have direct lore books given or lore book drop enhancers? There you go. Direct lore books or lore book drop enhancers. Give me direct lore books. And that's actually a pretty split there. 58%, 42%. People really kind of... It's leaning in the hands of it's leaning in the effect of drop enhancers opposed to the actual books. So it seems like people do enjoy some level of having to go hunt those monsters there.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the community isn't as offended as Pern is by the fact that the lore books are dropped from monsters.
I am, just because I don't want to do the PVM, but so I ride his anger basically with my own hidden agenda. But yeah, you're right. I think he is an outspoken individual who has a specific platform to complain on. Zenel says, enhancers for lore drops so others don't have to go through 2,000 KBD kills to get that damn book. I'm all for it. I've suffered enough. Don't want others to suffer the same. Fair enough. I don't think
enhancers are really needed anymore because they've been making the lore books way less rare. Like the KBD one was one of the latest ones they fixed, where they made it I forget what the drop rate is now, but it's so frequent now that I feel like enhancers aren't as needed. I am much personally more of a fan of a different way to get lore books for people who don't like combat, especially I don't agree with Per necessarily on the solo boss ones, but I think especially ones that require a group boss, that's just a hard thing to have people go through to put a team together, or to pay a team 100 mil to get a kill, or 50, or probably wouldn't be 100 mil, but pay someone something.
Day one it might be
or something. Yeah, that's just kind of hard. So it would be nice to have an alternative to, especially the group boss lore books.
Yeah, group boss lore, or just auto lore, like auto book enhancer, where it's just it guarantees the book drop for one kill and certain things. I wouldn't mind that. I'll finish up the post here. Looking beyond the initial update, I would like to look to add things from Shattered Worlds, Menaphos, possibly the Master Quest Cape, letting you decide on that. Possibly lore drops, and of course upcoming updates that have completionist requirements attached to the content. However, for the above requirements, I believe a slight buff of a month or so would be beneficial, as it would be great for people to sink their teeth into the update first before giving them rewards that would cut down on the intended gameplay time, which I think is a very valid. It's not here's new content, by the way. You can just immediately start getting the rewards for it via via the Maw, because if you're lazy. No, play the content. And then in a month or two, you can also start getting bonuses via the Maw. That seems very level-headed and reasonable to me. So, I am overall very happy to hear about this. His next post explains what he's already added to the Maw. So far, he's added chimes, Taijutsu, memory strands, Slayer VIP tickets, rare item tokens. That sounds delicious. Gobi charms. Also being added are the Spirit Onyx, daily D&D tokens, weekly and monthly as well, small Protean packs, an XP rewarding Crystal Fragment, Ghostly Essence, Calgarian title scrolls, that is going to crash the prices on those, Note that these are not the Demon Flash Mob titles, of course. No, they're the Calgarian Demons, but those are also needed for so yep. Essence of Reaper, object that grants 20 Reaper points when used. No, this is relatively rare. You will likely get 1 a year at most. Wow. Volatile Air Rune, object that grants 5,000 rune span points, and again, you'll get likely 2 of those a year at most. Unless you're super lucky, and I'm sure we'll see those posts. And of course, these are what is being removed. The player-owned House Aquarium eggs will no longer be received if you have max prestige. Removed Harmony Moss. Removed Crystal Geode. Removed Crystal Flecked Sandstone. Removed Corrupt Ore. Lowered the Implink chance. So all good changes to the Maw.
That reminds me, speaking of the player-owned house fishing stuff, there was a post on Reddit at the beginning of this week where like, oh, well, they nerfed prawn crackers, and someone was complaining about the fact that Jagex, there was a way to basically get all your deaths for free, where if you just carried a bunch of prawn crackers with you, they were worth so much, death considered them worth so much that if you just sacrificed them, it would pay for your death costs, so you could just die for free from this item that you earn endlessly in game while fishing. And someone was flipping out about the fact that Jagex finally fixed that issue.
Oh, I did not know that was a thing at all. That's interesting. Shall we continue on here? We have straw poll from the players, and this did not get very many upvotes, as it really should not have. I'm sick of seeing polls like this in the game. This has 232 votes, no more than a good upvote on Reddit. And it simply says, would you be willing to test new updates on a beta server so they are balanced and bug-free on release?
I love the the wording is so good.
Yeah. 39.66% of people say yes, I don't mind doing the QA team's job. That is bullshit, first of all. Like, you can't just... there's so many things wrong. First of all people are seeing in this poll is, do you want... Like, this is how people are interpreting this poll, is do you want updates to be tested and bug-free on release? And people are just voting yes. That's what's happening here. No one's actually thinking about the work behind that. Go ahead.
It's such a biased bullshit statement too, because literally you could go to the biggest video game company in the world and every game they ever release will have bugs in it. Like, there's no way to do a balanced bug-free release of anything.
People find bugs years after, so yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You could have literally set the entire population of the Earth play your game and beta test and be good beta testers, and you would not find every bug. Like, it's just impossible.
So flat out, yeah, that is just straight up impossible. You are correct. And it's also just a very self-serving statement. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, of course we want a bug-free, balanced content on release. But are the players actually going to do the work for it? Like, actually going to beta test and balance this content? Or are people going to keep playing the game the way that they want to play the game? Back to the case saying, nah, more people here. Do you want to play new stuff even earlier? Like, yeah, but they play it, they try it, right, for like 10 minutes, and then they're like, oh, well, this is broken and stupid and not finished, and then they go back and play the real game. Like, that's the problem.
And the thing that beta servers require is they don't require you to play the content. It requires you to play the content and then actually get in touch with Jagex and let them know of any issues that you had with it, which, like, most betas, I would say 90% of people who play a beta don't actually do any of the feedback. They just do the play the new content part.
Yeah, and exactly, like, that's, as Swizzy's saying in chat, is like, they just say, they see, do you want to play the content early? And I will be completely honest, like, that is why I have Overwatch PTR installed, is to basically just play, like, the adjustments early, just so I can get an idea of what the game, what's going to change. Do I actually provide anything useful or helpful for Blizzard? No! It's just to see what's, if I like the changes coming or not, and adjust accordingly to them. That's the only reason I have PTR installed, and that's exactly what I would literally just use the beta servers for RuneScape Weekly so I could report on content, way ahead of its release. And that is not a good use of Jagex's resources and time, and as entertaining and useful as it would be for RuneScape Weekly, as a media outlet, it would not be productive for Jagex as a game developing company. I think there would be about like maybe a core of like less than 100 people who would hardcore actually QA the game on a regular basis. And of that like 100 people, I would probably say maybe 50% of them would have actual technical like know-how and have good communication and know how to properly document and report issues. And yeah, there would not be enough people to warrant the effort involved, in my opinion. Sadly.
I totally agree. We should read the next 3 answers here just to show people how great these questions are worded.
So yeah, again, to show exactly how self-serving and like biased this poll here is. So yes, I don't mind doing the QA team's job for free because it's important to me. Yes, I'm excited about new updates and just want to muck around, which is basically can be translated into, yeah, I'm not actually going to QA, I just want to see new shit and then go back and play the real game. And that is second place, let's keep in mind. Like, most people, or the majority, yes, is like there's a lot of people who just are basically saying they are not even going to participate. They just want to see the new content and then kick rocks. No, I believe the QA team should be given more time to get it right, which is, of course, such a self-serving way to say no. Or no, I don't care if things are broken or imbalanced. Like, that's basically like receiving a charity letter in the mail and being like, yes, please send my gift of $10, or no, I don't care about starving children. It's like, oh, come on. Like, yes, I do, but I just because I don't want to participate in this thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got me. You're like, yeah. So again, it was a very self-serving poll. Testing. Oh, finally the Twitch chat works. Was Twitch chat having problems? Let me know if anything's failing, and I will do my best to correct it. But hey, Tip Puzzle. Oh, that reminds me. And I always need a good reminding. We actually have a new article available on runeweek.com, written by Tip Puzzle. In regards to Metaphos, I wanted to put it on the docket today, but I completely forgot until literally I just saw Tip Puzzle's name. So if you want to interrupt the show right here real quick, since we're in between topics, unless you had anything to talk about here, I'd like to read their article, which we can then talk about. It's in regards of Metaphos. Thoughts, Harley?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let me just increase the font on my own website by like 800% so I can actually read it. How do people read 10-point font? Someone edit that clip of Mage saying he doesn't care about starving children. Let's not do that. All right. So it says here, abstract. Metaphos is an expansion that will bring the experience gap between low-level and high-level players, thereby ensuring that Jagex keeps a steady player base and allowing for an influx of high-level players. Again, this article is entitled Metaphos, RuneScape's much-needed golden update, and of course this is coming from runeweek.com. It's fun to be able to say that. It's no secret that plenty of RuneScape 3's player base is composed of higher-leveled, committed members of the RuneScape community. RuneScape's greatest strength is its ability to draw players in and keep them coming, even after long breaks. The MMO is simply one of the easiest games to access and get back into, seeing as there's little downloading to sit through and plenty of content to see every time one logs back in. Jagex has placed itself in a comfy spot when it comes to ensuring that whoever they hooked into the game stays hooked. With plenty of skills, quests, and content, it's hard to find yourself bored. Unless you have done most of the content already. The big problem with the consistent player base is being mostly high-leveled is Jagex needs to keep the player base interested with high-level content. Thriftiness was the first major swing the company made to keep the more experienced players interested, and it worked fairly well, so they continue to make very tough content, big bosses, grand quests, the high requirement of arcs and ports section of the game. While all of this has served to keep high-level players interested, it has failed to hook in the lower levels. RuneScape 3 has suffered from a lack of new players sticking to the game and reaching those high levels. It takes an enormous amount of time for a player to start in Burthorpe and Taverley and then make their way to the grand city of Prifddinas. 2 years ago when I made my account, I became obsessed with the idea of reaching that beautiful high-level city. And I only completed that goal about 8 months ago. The amount of time it takes, even with dedication and knowledge, to get the high-level content is just insane. Granted, many players argue that this is part of the appeal of the game, giving us players such a grand and time-consuming challenge to overcome, but that mindset doesn't help the issue of getting new players into the game and getting them there to stay. New players see the huge quest lines and 75 set before them in their quest to Prifddinas, and many give up partway through. Even with such a wonderful, tantalizing reward at the end, players that only have level 50 in skills and don't have an interest in sitting in their chairs, mindlessly cooking those ores and experience gains, will ultimately fail to reach the end of the rainbow. I'm by no means saying that the requirements for Prifddinas or any other high-level content are too high, but I am saying that the time required to get great new content for players is too long, and that without the new content for low levels, RuneScape 3's community won't be able to grow. Luckily, Jagex has a solution. Menaphos. A player starts in free-to-play with level 1 skills and little knowledge of what they're doing. They learn how to train skills, grow stronger, make their own equipment, and make a name for themselves in quests. But then they hear mumblings of higher content. Lots of bosses and quests and locales for much higher levels are mentioned by the people around the Grand Exchange with this new player. The new player finds interest, but without a checkpoint, a place where they can assess their abilities and feel as though they have truly accomplished something before reaching their higher goals, they run the risk of losing interest. Menaphos is that checkpoint. Advertised as mid-level city with a grand exchange, level 50 skilling spots, and plenty to do, Menaphos is the absolute perfect idea to tide new players over so that they will reach the higher, more interesting content of the game. The fact that it is such a low-level barrier of entry, to beginner's quest is even better, as it can tempt free players into getting membership and testing the waters after giving the game a shot and perhaps getting one of their favorite skills near level 50. Menaphos could even become the new Prifddinas for low-level players looking forward to the time where they can quest around the Golden City and use its skilling spots like one of the cooler high-level players. If Jagex has designed the city as beautifully as the trailer suggests, I believe they've already knocked their goals out of the park from a design perspective. For me, getting to Prifddinas wasn't just about skilling plots and convenient GE and banking systems, it was also about the beauty. I could constantly travel around a beautiful crystal city full of lore. I could see beautiful sights, discover tirelessly detailed skilling hubs, and talk to a wealth of NPCs. When people talk about Prif, I did my research, and my research revealed stunning pictures of crystal and sunshine, ones only furthered my desire to reach the Elven City. I believe that this same effect will overwhelm free-to-play players and new players of the game, giving them further incentive to buy membership or train so that they may access the many things that the Golden City has to offer. Afterwards, Prifddinas will stoke their flames of gaming passion once more, causing them to reach higher and higher levels, making them more invested in this MMO. And there you have it. The low-level players are led into our happy, sometimes honest, sometimes, and respectable, rarely, community. And all in all, as a mid-level player myself, I am incredibly excited for Menaphos, even if it doesn't end up being for me. I know it will help bring in new members, and with a bit of work on Jagex's part, I'm sure it will also nurture mid-level players into becoming high-level players that can take active parts in our community. Thanks for reading. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
A really good article.
It is. That is a very well summation of kind of how I feel about Menaphos. I think I'm still gonna have some use for outside of shifting tune stuff because some of my levels are still low. I'm especially hoping that the thieving training is somewhat, or at least AFK compared to not even necessarily AFK and like click and wait for 5 minutes, but caution and pickpocketing are like terrible ways to train because it's so click intensive, and I don't want to destroy my wrists. So I really have hopes for Menaphos there, but also just even if the city is completely useless for me, I'm still excited for it just for the fact that it will give mid-level players a easy goal to get to and a new city to hang out in that is going to be beautiful, completely new. I think it's important to remember from the data stream that JX did last year. They talked about the fact that there are only 9,000 max players, and we probably have over 1 million players in the game. So something like this is definitely needed, and the fact that also they revealed in that stream that player stats. Most players have around level 60 to 70 in most stats. So something that's aimed at players at level 50, that is pretty much shooting a little bit below where the average player in RuneScape actually sits. So I think that's it's a super good idea to do what they're doing.
Yeah, and I have to say that the hub that Menafos could become is exactly what that article basically paints it as. Like, that is the potential that Menafos has, and it could be really groundbreaking for the mid-level community, which is much larger than people give it credit for, if not probably the largest community in the game. So
Yeah.
I am very excited to see what this could possibly do for the popularity of mid-level plays. And obviously, only time will tell, but there's not much time left, so I am very much looking forward to Menafos. The hype is real. The hype.
I
Hey,
also think,
yeah.
reading this, it's a good time to bring up the fact that if you want to write articles for the website, you can totally do that. If you go to roomweek.com, there's a link, the We're Hiring link, or you can just write an article and send it to Mage. And if if it looks like it's something good, he will go ahead and publish it. And also, if you want to be a co-host on the show, we definitely could use more of them to fill out the spaces. So
Hmm.
if you've ever
We have
thought
a
about hopping on, that would be great.
we have a few applications that I have in my inbox that I have not responded to yet, and that is not because of anything more than I have just not had a chance. So if you have submitted an application for being a co-host or an informant or anything like that, just stand by. It's me, not you. I'm just been distracted for the past couple of weeks, and I apologize for that. But articles, on the other hand, as well, those are much easier to handle, of course. But yeah, I have, I think, like two in my box that I have not answered, and one who we scheduled and then missed out on, which is sad. As you can see here, I'm a top-notch commander. I'm really good at keeping track of all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I mean, we do a show. You get money for it, but it's not like we make a huge profit off this show. So sometimes life stuff
We
comes
try
up
to
and
keep it
gets in the
running.
way,
We try to
and
keep it
yeah,
alive.
when family
Speaking.
stuff comes up or something, it kind
Yeah.
of takes over. But I wanted to say that if you're out there and you think that you want to be a co-host, but
Yeah.
like you're nervous about it or something like that, like it's okay. Like I had zero
DX
experience.
can do it. You can do it.
Well, I was
I'm
going to
just
talk
kidding. I
about
love you,
myself, but
DX.
I guess we can harp on DX a little bit. But I was going to say, as far as myself, like I had never done anything like this before I came on the show. I'd always wanted to be I wanted to do a podcast, but I'd never actually done it. And it's something that you can learn over time. If you listen to my first few episodes from a year and a half ago, I definitely talked way less, and it took me some time to find my voice. But if you give it some time, you can totally do it. So if it's something you even just want to try, like that's totally come on down, and you are welcome to join us. It's one to say that.
Yeah. We always give everyone a try. So speaking of keeping things alive, I have a post here that is not related exactly to RuneScape, but it is sort of because it's related to Chronicle. And this is just kind of an update on what's going on with Chronicle. Someone asked, is Chronicle still coming to mobile or not? Now, this post is 6 months old, but we don't cover Chronicle that often, so I figured this was relevant considering we haven't covered anything official from Chronicle in well over 6 months because they haven't really given us much to go on. And so here is the current state of Chronicle in a bite-sized text block from Mod Balance here. It says, mobile would be a huge undertaking for us. A huge time and financial investment which doesn't make sense for where the project is right now. I just want to point out this is a trading card game, a genre of game that has only been known to survive on mobile platforms. So they put it on a PC platform and then wonder why it died. Anyway, it
Well,
says,
I
well,
wouldn't say only known. I mean, I think there are some, but I feel like
it's the
Chronicle
market. It is
specifically would have.
the market, in my opinion, and you can totally argue this because it's merely an opinion. My opinion is the PC market, like desktop market for card games, is flooded. And I wouldn't say the mobile market isn't as well, but I feel like you still have a better chance in the mobile market. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
that statement I would definitely agree with. I just wanted to say you can. I just wanted to make it clear that there is a big market on the PC. It's just also packed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some really good competition out there right now, and not to say the Chronicle isn't really good competition. The game itself is fantastic, but by not releasing a mobile version of the game, I think that did kind of kill it.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that killed it early on in development. Like they were like, "We're going all in on PC." I think if they had originally said we're going all in on mobile, it would have been a very different story, but I don't think they had the resources at the time, and it doesn't sound like they have the resources now. It sounds like Jagex really wants to branch out into mobile, but doesn't have the in-house tech to do so.
It's weird.
Yeah,
Because, like, they canceled Idle Adventure before that came out on mobile, which still makes zero sense to me. Because, like, I would have absolutely played that game
yeah,
on my freaking iPhone if it had come out. I don't know. Like, I would have played it for at least a few months. Like, when Fallout Shelter, which is a game that was relatively similar to what Idle Adventure was going to be, when it would have come out. Like, I played Fallout Shelter hard for like 6 months.
yeah, it was a good game.
Loved that game. And like a game in the RuneScape universe that's similar to that, I would have eaten that up. But there's no way I'm gonna freaking play it on Steam on my laptop. Because if I'm on my laptop, guess what? I'm gonna play freaking RuneScape. I'm not gonna launch some other game. Like, yeah, it's very strange to me as to how they decided to ship that stuff. And I mean, I totally agree with you. To get a hold in the market, like, you got to risk it. I think Jagex has the money to risk Chronicle on mobile. And we all know the profits they made last year. They're making good money.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with, the problem with the market right now is it is flooded. And it's also flooded by AAA game developers. Jagex is an indie studio. When you have like Bethesda and whoever makes The Witcher, I can't think of the name of that company, but that company, and you have freaking Blizzard all with card games out. Like, that's a hard market to dive into because they have basically endless budgets for advertising versus this indie company that has to work with much less money in that case.
It's developed by CD Projekt Red, published by Atari. For the original series. I don't know who makes it. I thought somebody else picked it up though. I don't know if CD Projekt still does.
They made The Witcher 3. I don't know if I think they made the card game too, but who knows?
I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Also,
because they made it in the game, so they obviously know how to make a card game. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Since we're talking about this, it's worth saying. Everybody remembers Mod Merchant. We had him on the show when Chronicle was in early beta, and he left RuneScape, and there was a lot of speculation as to where he was going. And it did turn out, as I had potentially thought, he is now a full-time Twitch streamer. He streams pretty much card games exclusively. So if you're interested in watching card games and you enjoyed Mod Merchant, it's worth checking him out.
Mod Voice.
I forget what, I think it's I don't remember his Twitch name, but if you just Google Mod Merchant, you will probably find it. It might be RS Merchant. Can't remember, but just figured people might like to know that.
RS Merchant can be a very confusing Twitch name.
It could. I think that's what it was, but I could be wrong.
I'm checking it out. I believe it is actually. Yeah, if you go, he's actually I think live right now. Actually, yeah. Merchant Rank Crusade. He's playing the Witcher card game right now. So there you go. He's got lots of fancy stuff. Look at him. I bet this. I wonder what he made working as like CM for Jagex. Compared to what he makes as a streamer. That always is interesting.
Yeah,
but I mean, none of my business.
I think that he may be making less, but he saw an opportunity.
But he's happy, I bet.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's exactly it. If you're making less, plus you can have less expenses, right? You're not having to travel to work, or even like expenses like buy work clothes or like eat out some days because you were too lazy to pack a lunch. Like if you're at home, you can. It's so much
being a shut-in is a great way to save money. You are totally correct. I agree. Anyway,
I think he built up a nice community when he was like as an RS person. Like, everybody loved him, and anybody who watches this channel, like, there's a reason he's called Mod Voice. People just fucking love his voice. So
he's got a cool voice.
Capitalizing on that is a smart idea.
Yeah. He did a great job. He used his connections to the best of his advantage, and he appeals to a lot of players, and he rightly deserves what he was able to obtain. Yeah, I mean, anyway, we got a few more posts to go here.
So before we go to the next post, I wanted to bring up a topic that I was going to add, but totally forgot to think about. But 2 weeks ago now, I went to see some of my friends. I was hanging out with my one friend who I used to play WoW with sometimes, and who has been playing Guild Wars 2, and we were talking about video games, and one thing led to another, and I got him to sign up for RuneScape finally, which I've been kind of trying to hint at him doing for a while now. And he thinks he played like a long ass time ago, but he barely played. He maybe played like a week or two. So basically new to the game. And I figured it would be interesting just to read out the text conversation I had with him after I left and came back home. I sent him a text asking him what his RS name was, and his first text back was, "You got me fucking hooked." And then he says, "I have shit to do, and I'm not doing any of it."
That's awesome.
So
That's RuneScape, though. That's what happens.
yeah, showed him the game, and the next day, instead of cleaning his house, he was playing the game.
Like,
So,
I'm taking a break this week, and I almost logged in this morning, like, for during the show, and I was like, no, Magebit, if you log in during the show, you're not logging out, like, today, so you can't log in. Like, just don't, or you're not leaving. Like, it's true. It's very true. RuneScape
he's already done 20 quests, and he's loving the storyline and everything. And I thought it was super cool because he's someone who played like WoW. Like, he never got max level in WoW, and he mostly played for the quest lines. So I was interested to see how it would work for him in RuneScape, because RuneScape has great quests, but it's not the focus. You have to also level up the skills, but he seems to really be liking the skilling system as well, which is it's just, I think it's interesting. A lot of people say, like, new players don't happen, and you could argue that he's not a new player because he touched the game, but he doesn't even remember the game. So like,
I consider him a new player at that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't remember the game at all, like, that's it's like saying, it's like, oh well, a vague memory is not equivalent to a gameplay experience. So I'm fair to say he's a new player, new enough. So for something that's this old, it's almost impossible to never have accidentally played RuneScape once or twice. Just like it slips in occasionally. That's how RuneScape is. It'll invade your life when you're least expecting it. Speaking of, though, like games or new games, real quick, I just want to make an announcement, again, non-related to RuneScape specifically, but it's the Quake Champions this weekend. By the way, it's open again. Now, do you have any interest in Quake Champions? Out of curiosity.
I've never really played a Quake game, but someone told me I should play with y'all, so I'll probably be downloading.
I'm probably going to be playing Quake this weekend. If anyone is interested in playing Quake, just jump on my Discord, discord.runeweek.com. We'll probably be playing Quake this weekend, as it is the beta weekend for Quake, which I think is going to be a free-to-play game anyway, which is a great decision in my opinion, because I want to play Quake, but not enough to buy Quake. So, like, I'm looking forward to, like, a little bit of Quake when I want it. So, anyway, let's get weird for these last few posts here. We're gonna get weird, and then we're just gonna make me angry, I think, for the last post here. So that's what I got lined up here. So first up, we have a post called, "I think an ex-friend is trying to recover my account." So, of course, cautionary tale here. Here we go. "I had an account banned a long time ago, and it just got unbanned last week. And then this week, someone I'm assuming recovered it and changed the email. My recovery questions were set years ago, and unfortunately they are fairly simple, and anyone who knows me could answer them. My account was locked, and I recovered it through the system, the same system I assumed he used. So I'm curious, how can I prevent a tug-of-war from happening with this account? Only 3 people knew I got the account unbanned, and one said he accidentally mentioned it to their old friend. So curious what I can do here." So, again, don't share your password or account is probably a good place to start. Like,
well, this also, I mean, it's like,
they're not telling us something here.
Maybe, but I know people who have recovered RuneScape accounts that weren't actually theirs, that they used to share with people.
Sure.
That they didn't
mention
create, and
sharing
it's just
an account, though.
But if you have a childhood friend and you know their RS account, there's a good chance you could recover it because of how generic the recovery questions are. If you know enough details, it's like, what internet service provider did you use? Like, what password
it happened. It's happened to me, but it happened to me like 13 years ago. Like, I like to think that their security systems are a little better now, but it's very well possible that they're not. Which is kind of scary. But again, recovery questions, I don't know, like, I'm assuming they mean the form where, again, the questions you're asking, because they say that their recovery questions are primitive, but that's not necessarily how you recover an account in the first place. Like, they have a set
Yeah.
of recovery questions. They're saying here that they're not telling us something. Because he says, my account was locked and recovered to the exact same system that he was using. Okay, I had an account banned, unbanned last week. He says his recovery questions are fairly simple, but how are they fairly simple? Good.
Yeah, because you can't even actually
set the recovery questions. They're like,
my guess is
doesn't make sense.
My guess is we're dealing with someone who did account share and they just don't want to admit that part of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm someone account sharing is a gray area still in the game. I think it's against the rules in RS3, but not in old school. It's such a freaking weird
that I don't appreciate.
There needs to be some.
You're one company. Get your rules on the same page.
Yeah, and I'm someone who has some sympathy for account sharing because it's like when I was younger, I had to do it, to be honest. I couldn't afford membership, so I
brought up a very compelling argument that I kind of understand. I was very lucky and had membership from day one of his existence. Not a lot of people, especially in my age group, were that lucky, and that is a very valid point, and I will concede to that specifically.
Yeah, the era we grew up in, it was still weird to give money on the internet.
Over the internet. Yeah, my mother was very wary about giving money, especially overseas, over the internet. It was not an easy thing to convince. And they were very wanting to lean towards doing a wire transfer over debit card transactions, and it was very difficult to get it done initially, but it was 2001. Bank transfers and just online subscriptions were in their infancy in 2001.
Yeah, this is the nice thing. This is why I will always defend bonds today, is because if there were bonds when I was a kid, I would have been able to play on my own account because I would have just made the frickin' GP and been off to the races. But I didn't share accounts to try to trace high scores. We were never that good. It was just because free to play content became boring to me, and I wanted once you hanging out at your friend's house and you see members content, at least for me, there's no way to go back from that.
Yeah. You can't unsee that. I do remember the week or so before pay to play came out, staring longingly through the gates that were not openable. Those were days. Peering through the fence that separated Brimhaven from Karamja, longingly waiting for pay to play to come out. Those were the days. Anyway, I think this person is clearly not telling us the whole story. So I thought it was just
sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a cautionary tale about why not to share accounts, because the thing is, if this guy is right and this becomes a tug of war, Jagex will probably just ban the account or lock it from both parties because they have no way to tell who the original owner was, unfortunately.
Yeah, they'll just lock it they'll call it a contested account, and that'll be the end of it for everyone, and that sucks for everyone involved. So again, if you can avoid it, don't share an account, even if it's for a valid. Nowadays with bonds, like you said, you don't have to do the whole membership thing as much as anymore, but there are still people out there who I'm sure have a valid reason for it. But if you can avoid it, don't do it. It's a bad idea for you later down the road if you ever want to separate from that person.
Exactly. You have no idea where your relationships are going to be in the future, unfortunately. One of my best friends.
One thing. RuneScape is forever and friends are not.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of my best friends as a kid who I played RuneScape with, and I used his account at points, ended up robbing my house. Turned out to be a piece of shit. You have no idea what people are going to do later in life, unfortunately. So it's hard to trust people with stuff like that. And RuneScape is one of those games where it freaking hurts to lose an account too, because as we were talking about in that earlier post, it's hundreds of thousands of hours to max. If you lose a WoW account, kind of sucks. But nowadays, you just buy the game again. You have a level 100 character. You play for 10 hours. You're max level. You just got to get your gear back. It's not that much time lost. Where RuneScape, it's a ridiculous amount of time lost if you lose your account.
I've sunk over 10,000 hours into this game, probably approaching 15,000 hours. Yeah, I can't get that back. That would be really, Be the end of an era in my life. If I lose Magebit, that is the end of an era in my life. I'm not playing this game for another 15,000 hours to get back to where I am. Granted, of course, XP rates are much different, and I could probably condense that 15,000 hours into probably about 500 hours. But that being said, it's the memories and the journey, and it would be the same, and that would just be the end for me. So I understand that side of the argument as well, but don't share your account. So all right, so let's continue on here, shall we? A few more posts here. This one is entitled "Scammers Get Some Small Justice" by Shaq33, who says, "I've been playing RuneScape on and off for about 12 years and have come back on after a good couple of years away. I consider myself to be a bit of a noob, but I just enjoy playing the game and generally minding my own business whilst playing. Obviously, there have been changes since I played last time, so I don't know too much about the best gear to wear, etc. Earlier, I was in the Abyss, crafting for 99 magic, and could see a player AFK on the inner circle of it for quite some time. Let's call him Player 1. Didn't think much of it, but then I was approached by another player, we'll call them Player 2, telling me that I could be using better weapons than the Wand of Cyware Elders that I was using at the time. He told me to add him, then go to the GE and meet him at the gate because he wanted to see what he could sort out for me. I was alright with this. I thought some guy was just trying to help me out because others have done so in the past. So I teleport to the GE, and Player 2 is telling me I should buy a Noxious Staff and full Verdus. I tell him that I can't afford that, so he ends up telling me to get a Camel Staff, so I do just that. I equip my Camel Staff, and then Player 2 tells me that he has put an offer to buy on GE for some Verdus equipment, and he wants me to wait for him so he can give it to me. I get bored and tell him that I'm going back to the Abyss, and he can message me if he successfully buys it, rather. As I am about to cross over into the Wildy to teleport to the Abyss, Player 1 shows up saying something along the lines of, "Oh, were you training magic earlier, right? I saw you there." I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Here, take this." Player 1 gave me a demonic skull and told me I would gain extra XP if I equip it, which is not technically untrue. I trained agility a few weeks ago, so I knew the consequences of wearing the wielded skull in the wilderness, and at this point I realized that Player 1 and 2 must be working together, and they pretty much planned to ambush me by the Mage of Zamorak for the new Camel Staff I had just bought. I quickly deleted Player 2 and hopped worlds. It was a small monetary win, I know, but I like to think I wasted a lot of their time. I basically just want to warn anyone else in a situation such as mine, not knowing of the terrific amount, about scams like this. I was also quick to delete Player 2 that I can't remember his name. So,
Yep.
There you go.
If you train in the Abyss, just don't talk.
Just don't talk to people.
It's not worth talking to anybody. I went for 99 in all of my melee skills down there, and every single person who tried to talk to me tried to scam me. Like, that's what the people who are talking to you are trying to do. Freaking, you're better off just turning private chat off. Go and turn your chat. Also turn off. Make it so you appear offline or appear to friends only. That way people can't see what world you're on.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. You have to train the Wildy because these scams are rampant down there. You know, like when I was down there, someone was like, "Hey, can I buy your spot? I'll give you 20 mil. Meet me in the middle so I can trade with you," right? And then, of course, you go to the middle, then they leave. So you try to go back, and to go back in the Abyss, you know, you can't just walk right back. You have to teleport to Edgeville and then run back to the mage if you go into the middle of the Abyss. So basically, that's also another way they do that scam, is they just try to get you to go into the middle, so you have to run back. So yeah, be careful.
Sentinel says, "Rule 1 of the Abyss, do not talk at the Abyss. Rule 2 of the Abyss, do not talk in the Abyss." It's very true. Yeah, it's pretty. If somebody opens their mouth in the Abyss, like, if they are trying to scam you more than it's just like in real life. Anyone, when you're in the Abyss, just ignore everyone. That is just what to do. Let's keep going along here. We're gonna pull one from the Rants forum here called "Cheat System" by Durkadur. Good name, aptly named for this post here. He says, "So, I was minding my own business, trying to level up magic for Desert Treasure on my main. Just looked up easy ways to level up magic, and that was teleporting. So I started spamming my Camelot teleport. It's going good. Just watching some It's Always Sunny. Pretty much just clicking a shit ton. I do this for about 40 minutes and call it a day. My fingers were tired." That's what she said. Oh my god. and I was bored. I tried to get back on the next day, and bam, effing permaban for macroing. What the F, Jagex? I don't even know how to do that in RuneScape. The only macros I use are in WoW. Why the F would I need them in RuneScape? My mouse may not have been moving much, but my fingers were clicking like no other. Now, I don't mind restarting accounts or whatever, but I don't want to put that much effort into an account and poof, it's gone again. I'm actively against cheating, and it annoys me that I can't do anything about it. Super ironic because my buddy got banned for auto-clicking and I made fun of him for cheating, like a lot. Then the next day I get banned for being legit. So, like, F me, right? This really chaps my ass, by the way, if you couldn't tell. So now you have me saying this really chaps my ass, and also you have that post. I don't even know what to say here because, like, the end of his post almost makes it seem like he's telling a legitimate story here, where he's like, F me, like, the irony is super strong here. But he could literally just be putting that in there to say that. And using
let's
that
not
as
forget about unbanned service as well. You know, that is
very true. They could be upping their game, right?
Yeah, you never know.
They now have machine learning algorithms here at Unbanned Service, where we have submitted over 30,000 posts from criers around the internet about being banned, and now we can craft you the perfect letter. Shoot me in the head. It's funny because, like, every time we mention Unbanned Service, like, there's always a comment that's like, it worked for me. So, like, I don't know if they have bots out there or something, but it always seems like somebody comments about Unbanned Service when I talk about it.
They probably do have. I wouldn't put it against them. And also, I mean, it might work on other services. I imagine that services unlike RS.
I don't want to give this person any money, like, but I really kind of want to, like, do, like, you know, one of those, like, undercover report things where you buy the service to expose it, basically. But I also don't want, like, it's not about even losing the money. It's about giving that person money and allowing them to spend that money on things that they need when I would rather them be homeless. That's my problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's and the thing is, you know, every time I read these articles, the crappy thing about all this stuff is it's impossible to actually tell the legit people from people who are lying. Like, that's the hard thing about, you know, like, JMod's job. Like, you know, sure, there might be some evidence on this person, and I don't think that, you know, JMod has replied to this post to say that, as they do sometimes. But it's like, you know, like, the most ardent people who will say they are not guilty will be guilty a lot of times, and you have no idea if they're lying to you just because they want their account back or not. And it's also, you know, I agree with Zenel, who's in chat, saying, I love those I don't care posts where they most definitely care a lot, pretty much. Like, why would you write a post if you don't care that you lost your account?
You obviously care. Like, if you didn't care, you'd be like, oh, well, no, skin off my nose, gonna go play another game, see you later. But no, you're here writing a post about how angry you are, clearly. Even though you're not, but you are. Anyway, we have one final post in the similar vein of just idiocy here. This is called You Kill Our Jag Protection by Sorxer, coming again from the Rants forum, and it says, Jagex account Guardian deactivates soon, and spoilers, it's already been deactivated by now. Why not make a power to the players poll first? Because who better to decide account security than 1 million people, of which maybe whom 0.0001% are information security analysts and or of equal, you know, or higher level of education in how to secure data. Yeah, let's have those people decide what the best data protocols are as far as security goes. Sounds like a good idea. Let's read on. Authenticator is a damn shit thing. Jag was much better protection and much more comfortable. I just, like, first of all, they don't actually give any hard empirical data here. They just say it was much better protection. Don't offer any reasoning as to why. This is like trolling 101 analysis. Like, forget malware analysis. This is like trolling analysis. Like, this post was like specifically tailored and designed to hurt your brain, I feel like. And you can see by the way it's worded here with like no empirical data, hard opinions, disguised as facts. Like for they say here, much more comfortable. Like what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Much more comfortable. Like turning the air conditioner down could make me much more comfortable, and it could make somebody else much more uncomfortable. Comfortable is a state of being that is subjective. So fuck you, Sorxer, first of all. Continuing on. Why did you remove Rune Labs? The whole Rune Labs power to the players' politics probably was never honest, only a propaganda thing. So, of course, again, detracting from the subject line of this post here is of course, attacking JAG, but they have no evidence to attack JAG, so they have to run a side attack here on Rune Labs in order to make this post have some meat and possible argument legitimacy to it, some debate legitimacy, because on its own it offers nothing. But you can probably relatively get behind the fact that Rune Labs was definitely some form of propaganda, whether it's a negative or positive. It was for Jagex to reach out to the community and pull ideas from the community. It was a novel idea. It was probably not handled the best, but nonetheless, what does that have to do with account security? And why are we talking about a shitty power to the player system versus why JAG is gone? Just because JAG happened to not have been pulled by the players? Why would you want somebody who has no idea how to properly implement account security to make that decision for you? You wouldn't go to your mechanic for open heart surgery just as you probably wouldn't ask your surgeon to fix your car, unless maybe that's their hobby. Who knows? I don't know. But point being is, like, certain people are good at certain things, probably get advice for experts and not your lay friends. Bad idea. That is like the one biggest problem of information in this genre, is everyone thinks they're a damn expert because they have Facebook and Google. That does not make you an expert. Reading articles from unverified sources does not make you an expert. And I'm going to continue on here because Jack Flack just like jumps on this and rolls with this argument. I don't know if they're in this together, if they're friends or what, but like, let me read Jack Flack's comment here, who says, "It's always been known that the whole power to the player setup was simply Jagex being forced into damage control mode after butchering the release of EOC and cutting their player base in half. Removing JAG is simply a cop-out on their part, as they don't want to put in the effort to keep a better security system running, instead defaulting onto paper-thin third-party systems. Oh, you know, the ones that, you know, every major company on this effing planet uses. Yeah, those paper-thin third-party systems, rather than using their own superior system, which, again, let me remind you, was akin to a shitty game of Hangman." Like,
yeah. I think you covered this on
I covered
last
this
week's show.
In some semblance on last week's show, yes.
Yeah, but it's still worth. I'm glad to bring it up again because I really wanted to tear this apart when
I want to. Last week's show, I didn't have the energy to go through all the comments. I want to do it this time.
Gotcha, but yeah, it's just it's a complete lack of understanding. Like JAG is not in any way, shape, or form secured because, much like that earlier post we're talking about where that guy's like, "I think my old friend has recovered my account," the way JAG is designed to work is people could literally just go to your Facebook account and find the answers to your JAG questions and then steal your freaking account.
Letter. Nice and easy for your search to start off. It's like, what city were you born in? It starts with this letter and it is this many letters long. Like, that is literally like the parameters you can give a brute forcer.
Even without that though, like it's
I know
still,
even without that it's bad.
Terrible.
But with that it's laughable. Like, forget bad, it's laughable security at that point. You're literally basically giving the parameters needed for a brute forcer to be set up, knowing how long it is. The first letter is just a freaking bonus. That's just one character you don't have to brute force now. Like, oh my god, like everything about that is just ridiculous. And for those of you who don't know what brute forcing is, it's literally just trying every combination of every possible word or letter, keeping in mind that Jagex can't do uppercase, so that's a whole bunch of letters that it doesn't even have to run through.
Yeah.
So,
and there's also, there's the people who will always argue, like, well, JAG is secure if you just put random answers in there. Which is like, yeah, sure, JAG is secure if you use it in the way it's not intended to be used.
It's like, yeah. And what if you forget those answers then? Like that was always a problem with recovery questions, is putting unrelated answers and then forgetting your unrelated answers. I did that back in Classic. And after I got hacked via my recovery questions, I then changed my recovery questions to have nothing to do with the actual questions, and then forgot all my recovery questions. So yeah, I like to
and the thing is,
like
the thing about it is, like, you can't say that that's a more secure system, because it literally you're going against the design of the system, which means the average person is not going to be just making up random letters and numbers and shoving them in there. They're going to be using actual answers, because that's how the system is supposed to work. That's how the system is sold to them. So even if you do that, you know, as you said, you could forget it, but even if you write it down or you save it in a secure encrypted file somewhere, there's still the majority of users who are just going to put their hometown because that's what it's telling them to put, and they're not going to think about putting a fake answer. And they shouldn't have to either, because even then, like, the average user also is just not going to remember a fake answer. And if they write it, then they're not going to be able to, like, and using an encrypted file is going to be too hard for them. And if they write it down, they'll probably lose a piece of paper. So, like, you know, that would basically, the average user would forget it if they made it up randomly. So that's why it has to be something real, but also it's a security problem to be something real. And the thing about Authenticator is, you don't have to remember Authenticator. It makes itself up when you launch the app.
Right.
Like, that's where the advantage of it comes in. And the fact also, the other thing is, it changes every 30 fucking seconds, which is why it's better than JAG in the first place. Because JAG, the answers stay the same until you update them. With Authenticator, I'll give you my Authenticator code right now if you want me to, chat. You can have it. Here's my current Authenticator code, 788999. Go hack my account. Good luck. You have 15 seconds.
See, but you're forgetting one problem that Jack Flack brings up here. Biggest issue is that they use faulty algorithm to generate their codes.
Oh, you're right. How could I ever forget that?
It's like, how would you even know that? How would you even know that? Like, that is, who are you to say that they use, and you know what they're referring to. They're referring to the RSA breach that happened like a couple of years ago, that anyone using that specific algorithm that RSA put out and I believe Google was using it at the time or something, but that algorithm is long gone and not being used anymore. Like, your information is at best outdated and, like, very, very niche. Like, it has nothing to do with the current state of authentication and what algorithm is being used. Like, they provide no information whatsoever. They just make that bold statement, and then people in this thread are just like, oh, that's horrible. Just blindly believing this random person that has just because they have 3,000 posts on the forums. Like who are you to say that their algorithm is faulty? You don't work for them, and even if you did, that's privileged information. That's like CEO level information. They don't just tell that to, like, the IT department at Jagex. Oh, you hear about the big flaw that exists and don't you think the fact that they used, like, the Google authentication app or Authy or whatever you're using, these third-party apps, right? What about, like, every other platform that also uses that app? Wouldn't there be mass amounts of data breaches going on via third-party auth codes? Like, why aren't we seeing mass breaches of Gmail accounts and stuff? Good.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, passwords can be leaked too. Your JAG answers could be leaked. Like, someone could easily hack.
JAG answers could be being keylogged right now if JAG still existed.
They could. I mean, like, we also said they could be guessed, but also, like, literally someone could hack Jagex servers and steal those answers if they really wanted to. Like, that could be something that happened, and, like, any security can be breached in some ways, but then it can be updated. So, when that RSA leak happened, it was eventually fixed. Algorithms can be changed and that can be fixed. It's not like a reason to, like, not use that system, or to cut out Authenticator completely as a thing that you think about.
I mean, everything has its weaknesses, but by far, Authenticator is probably is like what we have on the table commercially that is publicly available on an implementation level that is not extremely difficult and just requires basic knowledge of computing. Authenticator kind of ticks all those boxes. Yes,
Yeah.
there's stronger security out there, but to get a mass amount of people to adopt it that probably don't have a lot of like high tech experience is not a fair thing to ask. And
Yeah,
I
it's
think JAG's
impossible.
a good balance. Yeah.
The harder you make security, the less people will
Oh yeah.
actually use it. Like people will just not make an account, or they just won't use your service if you force them to. Like Authenticator, it has to be easy enough that people will actually want to use it, and secure
Do you
enough that it
think
actually does something.
how many people do you think would quit if Jagex forced the use of authentication via like an app or
Uh,
something?
I think you'd probably lose probably 10% of the player base at least.
You're probably not wrong.
Something around
It's
there.
probably a fairly large number that I'm not really giving credit for, but yeah, there's a lot of people that just don't want to. I cannot believe how many people I talk to don't even have bank pins. Like
I mean,
it is very common to talk to someone who doesn't,
yeah,
let alone don't have any, like forget authenticator that requires some level of technical expertise to download an app on your phone, a very very minor level of technical expertise. But let's be fair. I'll throw you a bone. But there are people who don't even put bank pins on their banks. So like,
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that's what I was gonna say about Authenticator. Authenticator, like to us, it might feel like a minor level, but like if you're someone who has very limited computer experience, I can totally see how it would be a daunting task to understand Authenticator.
I mean, I'll be fair. It feels like just trying to keep Windows running, you freaking need like a freaking associates in computer science these days. So I understand.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
frustrating. But that's the thing is I feel like authenticator is a fair thing to ask. It's like it's not crazy advanced. It's like, do you have a cell phone? Yes. Or can you download a browser extension? Yes. Those are two things that I would say 75% of like educated adults who use computers can handle. I know browser extension is actually probably more to ask for than downloading an app, but like most people, I think have I would say 75% of RuneScape players have cell phones that can handle the authentication, and the rest,
probably.
I would say out of the 25% that probably don't have cell phones, I would say probably 15% of those people, or I'm sorry, 50% of those people rather of the 25% probably would have no problem with the browser extension, and the rest of those can go to magebit.tv and watch an instructional video. I do want to clear up. Mod Balance did post somewhere along in here, and I will quote him, and then we can pretty much close down if you'd like. He just quotes and says, "Jag is flawed in that most of the answers people give are either easy to guess or hijackers can use social engineering techniques in order to find them out. Otherwise, people are using coded answers, which ultimately means people forget them and need our assistance to remove it. Provided people have a secure account, authenticator enabled, and two-factor enabled on their recovery email address, your account is extremely secure. Maintaining JAG causes us major headaches with providing support and for maintaining the system. Additionally, players who left the game and come back only to find JAG still enabled tend to leave the game and never actually return to play. This is bad for business, but more importantly, bad for the health of the game and the community. We have considered all the factors and have reached this decision." I think that's like everything in that post pretty much clears up, I think, everything that needs
Yeah.
to be said. And then the discussion basically dies therein afterwards.
He worded what we were saying in a much more succinct way
He was
than
able to
we
say
did.
it took me about 5 minutes to say he was able to say
Yeah.
in about 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, to be fair,
Albeit mine had passion.
he it reads in 30 seconds. It might take him 20 minutes to write the paragraph.
That's true. That's true.
You never know how much time people spend writing.
Yeah, that's true. It's the
It's the
beauty
nice thing about
of writing.
text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 20% of those watching the video give up. Nice, Mr. Banana Slice. Good to see you're still alive. Anyway, that is the last post I had on the docket for this episode of RuneScape Weekly. Anything you want to throw in at the end, Harley?
I do want to say, PVM perspective, we plan on recording this weekend, getting the episode out. There's been some more scheduling conflicts, but you should be seeing that soon. So keep your eye on your YouTube and your podcast feeds. If anything changes on that, I will update you all on the Discord, and maybe Mage will tweet it out too. But there should be time to record this weekend, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's just been, summertime, lots of busy stuff going on. David's off enjoying his time in California, so.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we will be getting an episode out soon. So I just wanted to let people know what's going on there. We did not forget about you, loyal listeners, and thanks everybody for the support. We got a donation today, but if you do want to
we're officially
donate,
halfway there according to this. I think we're actually further than that.
Yeah, I think we still have that $25 donation from
Colton. So that's not counted in that. So yeah, we're actually further than 50% of the way to plenty more PVM perspective.
We have $105 left on till we reach our goal. So we are plugging along, everybody, which is super exciting. I'm working on some potential new rewards now that I can stream a bit more. So you may see some updated reward ideas. I don't have those set in stone yet, but I will probably announce them. Hopefully, I'll have them set up by next show.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. We'll be looking forward to that. Yeah, hopefully with the upgrades to the hardware, we'll be seeing more streams. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of RuneScape Weekly. It is Quake weekend, so join us on our Discord channel. We'll probably be doing some Quake, discord.runeweek.com if you're interested in that. But of course,
you know what? Mm-hmm. I actually just realized because of actually, I guess we were already past this, but I didn't realize we are we were at the goal for two seasons of PVR Perspective guaranteed. I just realized that because that was $150, and we're just over $150. So that's super exciting. So
yeah,
we have guaranteed season 2. So that's fantastic. I think season 1's coming to an end pretty soon. So good to have that happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really glad to hear season 2 is going to be a thing. And it's still not impossible to go from, to have more episodes per season. So if you want to help us out, tip.runeweek.com while the show is live or not live. It'll still tip nonetheless, but get your tip read and all that fun stuff. Anyway, we are also available after the fact on social media. We got a Facebook page for you, facebook.com/rsweekly. Got a Twitter for you as well, @rsweekly. Discord, of course, again, is discord.runeweek.com. And we have an in-game clan chat for you as well, clan chat, kill, skill, and chill, or clan.runeweek.com. And of course, we have an ongoing clan competition this month. If you are a member of the clan, you could participate in that. I believe it's Slayer, and it's going on until the 15th of the month coming up here. Currently, of course, now we're not going to count Fatty here because he's one of the patrons of the competition, but we have Death Star, Scooby-Doo, and Dr. Wolf, it's looking like. I'm just removing staff on the fly here, so Fatty and Parnassius are both ineligible. So due to ineligibility, that puts Death Star in first place, Scooby-Doo 69 in second place, and Dr. Wolf in third place. And honorable mentions go to Naxtor, Killer Bunny, and Crasp. And Harley, who of course is also not eligible, falling right there behind Crasp. There you go. Autumn is also not too far behind as well. So if you're interested in the prize pool, again, 25 million first place, 15 million second.
How much Slayer XP do I have?
You have achieved 1.1 million Slayer XP since this event has started.
What? That is 100% from XP lamps, I'm pretty sure. That's ridiculous.
That's awesome. Welcome to Easyscape, am I right? Yeah. Anyway, if you want to help us out, you can do so as well on our Patreon page, patreon.com/RuneScape. You can get bonus content, the current $3 a month perk right now that's ongoing. I'm reading the history of RuneScape. It's a book created by July. And I am reading through. It's over 400 pages long, and I'm doing little 20-minute segments here or there throughout the weeks. So you can check that out at patreon.com/RuneScape. Requires a $3 a month pledge to get access to, or higher. So if you want to support the show on a monthly basis, patreon.com/RuneScape is the best place to do it. Got a PayPal for you as well, paypal.me/RSW or tip.runeweek.com. They both do the same thing. I should really just adjust that over to tip because One adjusts on the live show and the other does not. Shop.runeweek.com is also still open. Shop.runeweek.com. You can use your aforementioned mage bucks that you have obtained maybe previously, or you can use real money as well in our shop. That's shop.runeweek.com. Upgrades as well. Our upgrades list is ever growing and ever needed. We can check that out at upgrades.runeweek.com. It's our Amazon wish list. If you wish to support the show by sending us things that we need to upgrade the studio, you can do so by going to upgrades.runeweek.com. Again, a big special thanks to our top Patreon supporters, including Rune Group, Kesky, Swagatorix, Alex W., Danny H., Kevin H., Old Gunner, Hamster King, Sudwood, Godly Fury, and Tyler. Thank you so much for your ongoing patronage. It means the world for me to be able to produce the show on a regular basis, and we would not be able to do so if it wasn't for our Patreon supporters. That goes not only for our top Patreon supporters, but all of our patrons, whether it be $1, $1 million, every pledge matters and adds up. So thank you so much for helping us out and being able to take the time each week to take out of our busy days to record the show. Very much, and we will be back next week for more Runescape Weekly. In the meantime, and as always, happy scaping.